Let's start with the five biggest stories of the week here, Evan, and we'll go to the New England Patriots first. Patriots beat the Bengals 26-20. They're now 6-0 on the road this season, 10-2 overall. Biggest fantasy story coming into week 12, I thought, was how would TreVeyon Henderson usage look with Ramondre Stevenson back from his injury? And I actually thought that it was, from a usage perspective, a pretty big win for TreVeyon. Reminded me a little bit of RJ Harvey's situation in week 13, where usage was strong, box score disappointed. TreVeyon played 46 snaps, Ramondre 22, Terrell Jennings 3. TreVeyon Henderson 21 routes, Ramondre just 9. 22 opportunities for TreVeyon Henderson against the Bengals, just 8 for Ramondre. Now, there's some negatives that I can throw in here, Evan. I can say that, listen, you were playing the Bengals, TreVeyon, and you only averaged 3.7 yards per carry. I can also say that all the backs failed at the goal line, but they clearly seem to prefer a big back there. And I'd also say that maybe Ramondre plays a little bit more going forward as he gets further off of this injury. But overall, the usage I thought was a pretty big win for TreVeyon. Evan, what do you think of Patriots backfield with Ramondre back in the mix?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting, for the Patriots to stick with at least one more game with TreVeyon Henderson as their clear-cut lead back. As Ramondre, especially because the comments from Mike Vrabel throughout the week leading up to Ramondre's return were not like, oh yeah, Ramondre, he's ready to go. Boom, we're throwing him right back in. It was like, it just felt like to me like they were going to ease him back, and that's what they did. So we'll see what happens going forward, because TreVeyon did not fully capitalize on his continued expanded opportunity. The biggest concern for me right now for the Patriots offense in general, with the exception of Hunter Henry, which, my God, the Bengals, and the number 2 receiving player for the Patriots in this game was a tight end, Austin Hooper. I mean, the tight end funnel thing for the Bengals, that'll continue with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely potentially on Thanksgiving. But the losses of Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, who were 2 big hits in the draft for Elliott Wolf and the Patriots, potentially significant injury, it sounds like, for Will Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the biggest concerns right now for me, for any member of the Patriots offense, which in this game was disappointing. The Bengals that came into this game, they'd given up 27 points in 9 straight games to tie a league record. In this game, they gave up 26, but still, I think that this was generally a disappointing effort from the Patriots offense.
Yeah, and that's the other negative that you could throw into TreVeyon, right? Not only did he underperform in this game from an output perspective, not only could Ramondre play more as he's further off the injury, but also Will Campbell, left tackle, has started every game this season. Sounds like some type of MCL sprain. He's probably going to go on IR if he hasn't already. And then Jared Wilson hurt his ankle, the left guard. We'll see how long he is out here as well. My take is that Ramondre is going to play more going forward, and he will be their big back. I still like having TreVeyon Henderson on my team, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's going to be like a runaway here where it's 22-8 in opportunities every game going forward. I think if I had to project it right now, those same 30 opportunities, I would say more like 18-12 or something like that, rather than 22-8 in favor of Hendo. Last note for me on Patriots, Kayshon Boutte was back for this game, and I didn't think it would affect Steph Diggs, but I guess it did, because Steph Diggs only ran 21 routes on 39 Drake May dropbacks. Now, we've seen this before, where Steph Diggs, sometimes he plays 85% of the routes. Sometimes it's down to like 50, 55, 60. It's just a really weird thing. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this one, Evan, but I really like this spot for Steph Diggs, so I was pretty disappointed that he played so little. Any thoughts on why Steph Diggs got reduced here? Was it just simply Kayshon Boutte coming back?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Patriots want to keep a big rotation of wide receivers. They're one of these teams that wants to do that, and with Kayshon Boutte back, they went right back to doing that. And I think that will continue going forward. I mean, even in Stephon Diggs' previous game, which had season highs in his participation levels across the board, I think he was still at like 65% of the snaps. So they want to keep him. And prior to that, he was like right around 50%, maybe a little bit above 50%. So I think that they'll go back to that with him. But I also was disappointed that Stephon Diggs did not get more. I was expecting a decent game, and he did not give us really anything. Would he go for 2 for 20
Yeah.
on 3 targets?
Long week here for the Patriots heading into Monday night. Really good spot home against the Giants coming up next. Number 2 story, let's go to the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals lose again, this time in overtime to the Jaguars. But man, the Brissett, Michael Wilson, Trey McBride double just continues to smash. And really the triple with Greg Dortch just continues to just absolutely smash. 1 week after Jacoby Brissett set the NFL record for completions in a game, he completes 33 more passes here with Wilson, McBride, and Dortch combining to see 34 targets. Now, I don't know if Marvin Harrison is going to be back in week 13. They have not said yet one way or the other. I think the question most people have, Evan, is what happens when Marvin Harrison comes back here. Do they keep using Michael Wilson in this alpha role, or do they try to shoehorn Marvin Harrison back into this role? What are your thoughts on Marvin versus Wilson and any other Cardinals thoughts?
Well, based on Jonathan Gannon's comments on Monday, my feeling was that they were going to maybe continue to baby Marvin Harrison back. Like Jonathan Gannon was not like, oh yeah, Marvin Harrison is ready to go. He'll be back this week. He was very, very veiled in talking about the return of Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think maybe even when he comes back, that builds in an excuse almost for them to slow play him back into the lineup or slow play him back into the quote unquote alpha role with Michael Wilson rolling. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett and Michael Wilson have chemistry on the field. And the Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon's got to worry about his job.
Yeah.
And so I think that he's going to continue rolling with what works, with what has been working.
Put your talent evaluator hat on, Evan. Who would you rather have?
You're not going to get me to say it.
Who would you rather have on
You
your
are
team?
so biased against Marvin Harrison Jr. Everyone knows it. You've been called out. Some people do agree with you though.
If his father wasn't
running an anti-Marvin Harrison Jr. psyop, and everyone knows it.
If his father wasn't Marvin Harrison, would we even be having this discussion? Everybody's like, "Oh, of course, Michael Wilson's better. Of course." Listen. How about
no? They just have used him in a very fantasy unfriendly way, and he has not been able to benefit from a quarterback who can execute the offense like Jacoby Brissett.
Right.
Marvin Harrison was playing decent in the opportunities that he had when Jacoby Brissett was in there. He turned it up a little bit, but he had to play with this little 5'8" small quarterback, and who wasn't running the offense. And
that to me, that's the biggest point. All jokes aside, to me, the biggest point is let's see Marvin Harrison in a big sample with Jacoby Brissett, right? Because it looks to me like at least you can just throw all this Kyler stuff out the window. Michael Wilson has 2 straight 100-yard games since Marvin has been out. Marvin has 2 100-yard games in his entire career. Now, going back to those quotes that Evan was referring to, Gannon was asked if Michael Wilson could keep getting more opportunities even when Marvin was back. And Gannon said, yeah, you throw it to the guys that are making the plays for you. Clearly, Michael Wilson is making the plays for them. So I'm really interested what happens when they get back. Oh, and by the way, they get to play the Bucs next, and everybody is just throwing all over the Bucs all season, but especially lately. So another really good spot here for this pass game.
And the pass volume has continued to be extreme, otherworldly for Arizona. In this game, Jacoby Brissett had 55 dropbacks.
Yeah.
That will always boost the production of the pass catchers in the offense when a team is throwing an outrageous amount. And at the same time, you kind of expect it to continue because they have nothing in the running game. And I guess we sort of got an update on Trey Benson last week, but not really.
Yeah, that was my last note on the Cardinals here. Trey Benson did go LP last week. Now, they did not think he was ready to play in the game. He was not active, but we are going to start with him in for this week. I don't feel great about that, but our guess for now is that Trey Benson
I also don't even feel great that he's going to be effective.
Yeah.
That he can come back and fix the running game. I think that the running game just might be dead ROS.
Story number 3 comes from Dallas. A pretty stunning comeback from the Cowboys here. I was actually watching this game pretty closely, just right out of the gate. Eagles score 3 straight touchdowns. Cowboys down 21-0. I was just like, oh, yeah, it's over. Cowboys defense really rises up in the second half. They come back and win 24-21. Kind of goes back to what I was talking about last week. I don't think this Cowboys defense is necessarily going to be a pushover week in and week out. I don't think they'll be good, but not as bad as they were to start the year. Really, the Cowboys come back, though, through George Pickens, who continues to outplay CeeDee Lamb on a seemingly weekly basis now. Pickens, 9 catches, 146 yards, and a touchdown. You open up the Thanksgiving slate on DraftKings, Evan. Pickens is more expensive than CeeDee Lamb. So what do you think about that? Who would you rather have rest of season, Pickens versus Lamb, and any more thoughts on Cowboys?
Well, to just circle back to the Cowboys defense, that position, that 3 technique position in Matt Eberflus defense. Matt Eberflus comes from like the Tampa 2 tree where you need to have a 3 technique gap shooter. And that's like really the key to your defense so that you can generate pressure with your front 4 and you don't have to blitz. And Quentin Williams is like the best 3 technique in the game right now. And he's absolutely playing like that. I mean, he has been a game wrecker he tore apart the Raiders a couple of weeks ago, it's the Raiders. Then he did it to the Eagles. Although then you look at the Eagles and it's like Cam Jurgens not playing very well. Landon Dickerson's been hurt. No Lane Johnson. Steen has been a big downgrade from Mekhi Becton. But either way, Quentin Williams has been an absolute game wrecker. And all of a sudden, the Cowboys are playing like legit defense, back-to-back games. They will have a huge test on Thursday because the sample size is still very, very small. But I'm with you. They also have the 3rd highest pressure rate in the NFL, the Cowboys do.
Yeah.
So they are getting pressure. They also have Kenny Clark, who they traded for. He came over in the Mike Parsons trade. So, and Osa Ziggy Dua. They have talent in their front 4, and that's what you need with Matt Eberflus defense. And I think I don't know. That's going to be a really interesting game against Kansas City. I've got the game written up, and I think I have some good nuggets in there. George Pickens. Yeah. I don't know. Are you worried at all about the calf and hamstring injuries that George Pickens popped up with on the injury report? Because he was DNP on Monday.
So people who've been listening know George Pickens is the player that I drafted the most this year. Like the guy I clicked the most this summer was George Pickens. Obviously, it's been a massive, massive hit.
And Marvin Harrison was the player that you drafted least.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, definitely running hot on those calls for sure. I watched like every George Pickens play and game very closely. Late in the game, he goes down with looked like he was in pretty decent pain. They called it a calf issue. He comes off the field. Trainers look at him. He comes back in and catches another ball on a crosser. And it looked like he had a little bit of trouble getting up. He was definitely in pain. Did not practice on Monday, which I assume was a walkthrough. But yeah, he has a calf thing. I think he's going to play Thursday just because he came back into the game. But I'm worried about it. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about it.
So, and then I would add to that Brian Schottenheimer on Monday was like, hey, you could tell Kansas City that we're going to be throwing the ball to 88 when we come out of when we run out of the tunnel. So I think that because 88, CeeDee Lamb had a horrible game this past week. He had a bunch of really critical back-breaking drops. But they're going to go, and CeeDee Lamb has games like that every once in a while, unfortunately. But I think they go right back to him, just as Schottenheimer said. So I don't know. I think it's a game-by-game thing right now. But Pickens has been having a better season on the field than CeeDee Lamb has this year, no question.
Right.
I mean, George Pickens right now is number 2 in the NFL in receiving yards and number 3 or 4 in receiving touchdowns.
So our initial projection, and these will go up later tonight on Tuesday night, our initial projection right now is Lamb 14.9 in half PPR, Pickens 14.3. So we do have Lamb ahead, but only by 0.6 here in this game. And I feel pretty good about that. If you look at expected fantasy points, which to me, everybody tries to come up with these fancy metrics and stupid numbers that don't mean anything. Expected fantasy points is the number one stat that you need. Talks about what kind of opportunity people are getting, where they're getting the opportunity on the field, boils that down to one number. CeeDee Lamb leads all wide receivers this season in expected fantasy points per game. He's just underperformed it. So many drops, so many miscommunications with Dak.
Had the high ankle sprain.
Yeah. So I still think we should have CD ahead, but certainly very, very close here coming in to Thursday. Story 4, let's go to Cleveland. Much to Jacina Anderson's pleasure, Shadur Sanders handled himself, I thought, pretty well in his first NFL start on the road against the Raiders. And they won the game. He only dropped back 21 times, but he goes 11 of 20 for 209, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Biggest thing to me, Evan, only took 1 sack after he took so many sacks at Colorado, held the ball for so long to come in here against Max Crosby and the Raiders and only take 1 sack. I thought that was really good. And on Monday, I mean, they have no choice. Dylan Gabriel was cleared from concussion protocol, but Kevin Stefanski announced Shadur will start in week 13. So, Evan, what do you think of Shadur's NFL debut as a starter?
I think they schemed it up well for him. I mean, they got him outside the pocket on so many of his throws. He only threw the ball 20 times and had 11 completions. But they did screen stuff. Obviously, they had the 66-yard screen pass touchdown to Dylan Sampson, who I think kind of needs the ball more.
Yep.
And then also like so many rollouts out of the pocket where Shadur Sanders obviously is comfortable. And the Raiders, I mean, they didn't perform defensively. I mean, even Max Crosby, you know.
Yeah.
But getting him outside the pocket got him away from Max Crosby.
Yeah.
And he made a sick throw down the right sideline to Isaiah Bond. And he made another nice play to Jerry Jeudy, who just absolutely blew it with the fumble. But yeah, I mean, there were enough plays there for positivity for Shadur Sanders going forward. I think that when he plays like a real defense, things could get a little bit more hairy for him. I mean, he's also the supporting cast in Cleveland is not good. I mean, the offensive line has been really bad this year. Jerry Jeudy has been the worst number 1 receiver in the NFL, probably. But no, and look, he earned another start as admitted by Kevin Stefanski, who before Monday was saying that they were going to go back to Dylan Gabriel when he got cleared, but no, they're going to stick with Shadur Sanders. You get a win in the NFL, you get a chance to earn another one. So, and I agree with that philosophy. Shadur Sanders, positive.
The big thing to me was Shadur was more aggressive. Dylan Gabriel has been so conservative. Dylan Gabriel's average depth of target this season, 6.4 yards. Shadur Sanders' average depth of target this season, 9.6. That is a big gap there. And by the way, that 6.4 is among the shortest in the entire league. So get the ball a bit deeper downfield, be a bit more aggressive, and try to limit the mistakes. I think it was better for Cleveland, period. Way better than what we've seen from Dylan Gabriel for most of this year. And I get it, like Shadur wasn't great. His completion percentage over expectation was bad. His EPA per dropback was bad. But again, he didn't blow up, and I thought he made some good throws, like Evan said. So, yeah. Evan mentioned Dylan Sampson. One thing I mentioned, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago on this show, let's see Dylan Sampson over Jerome Ford. Do we really need to see Jerome Ford for this dead rebuilding team? Let's see what the Thunder and Lightning, Judkins and Sampson can do. Maybe they were listening to the show. Sampson, 19 snaps in this game. Jerome Ford, just 8. Judkins kept getting banged up, which gave Sampson some more snaps. Man, Sampson is fast. He had a 26-yard run and a 66-yard touchdown catch. So I hope that earns Sampson some more in that Thunder and Lightning backfield there with Judkins.
You remember Mike Renner, the greatest NFL draft analyst to ever live. He compared Dylan Sampson to, I think he had him as the number 2 or 3 running back in the draft, like maybe behind only Ashton Genty, which everybody thought was crazy. But when he's gotten opportunities, he's crushed it. Mike Renner compared him to Brian Westbrook coming out of college. So he's a player and Jerome Ford is in a contract year. I'm like 99% sure. So I think that we will see, hopefully, Dylan Sampson get more opportunities at least next year, and hopefully down the stretch so we can see more of him this year.
That's why I thought Jerome Ford was a trade candidate at the trade deadline, because he is a free agent. And by the way, I pulled up Renner's rankings. He had Genty 1, Dylan Sampson 2, Amarian Hampton 3, Cam Scattaboo 4. And that, by the way, and he had Travion Henderson down at 7. Big hit for him was Caleb Johnson, who everybody had as like top 3 or top 5. Renner had Caleb Johnson as his 12th running back in this class. And so far it's been rough for Caleb Johnson.
Even to be lower than consensus on Travion Henderson, who I like and I think is going to have an excellent career. I mean, that's looking decent right now.
Last thing on the Browns, Myles Garrett, 3 more sacks here. I mean, it's over for the Nick Bonito stuff. I know people are tired of us talking about it. I've crumpled the ticket, if you will, because Myles Garrett is almost certainly going to break the sack record. This is an unreal performance from Myles Garrett this season. He now has 18 sacks, and the record is 22 and a half, shared by Strahan and TJ Watt. So once he breaks that record, he'll be like a lock for Defensive Player of the Year.
And you don't think that the fact that the Browns are only going to win 4 games or whatever is going to prevent him from getting that? Because, I mean, I don't either. I just wanted to run that by you.
I don't, because once you break the record, that's like something everyone clings to. How can you not vote for the guy who broke the sacks record? So, yep, it was a good run. It was a fun run on Bonito, but a loser. Story 5. Let's go to Detroit. This was an all-time spot for the Lions. You know, coming off a bad loss. They played so well off a loss. In the Dan Campbell era. They go into the Dome here. They're facing the Giants. They did score 34 points, but I honestly thought they underperformed, and they got saved by this outrageous Jahmyr Gibbs performance. 58.4 DraftKings points for Jahmyr Gibbs in this game. He is now fantasy's number 3 running back in points per game, behind only Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey. I hope that the Lions see the more you give the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs, the better the offense is going to be. And all this talk about David Montgomery is just like, let's treat David Montgomery like Brian Robinson or Tank Bigsby or one of these like breather, bigger backs. I want to see Jahmyr Gibbs touch the ball 20, 25 times a game, man. Evan, what do you think of Gibbs' outburst and anything else on the Lions?
Well, I had Jahmyr Gibbs as the number 1 overall player in fantasy to start the season, which was a topic of debate. And we'll be revisiting that after the season. But so I was very happy to see it. Also, I had Jahmyr Gibbs on DraftKings. So I was all in on Jahmyr Gibbs this past week. And I think that Dan Campbell is all in on Jahmyr Gibbs as well, because in week 11, Jahmyr Gibbs in a game also played in by David Montgomery set his career high for snaps at 73%. This past week set another career high at 74%. And David Montgomery has really been pushed to the back burner over those 2 games. And Jahmyr Gibbs is over his last 3 games. Yeah, that's the sample size in which Dan Campbell has been calling plays, is averaging 10 yards per carry. And if I'm remembering this correct, 8 targets per game. Yeah, 8 targets per game and 6 catches per game. So yeah. Dan Campbell knows it, and he can pay lip service to David Montgomery. Oh, he needs more touches. You know, we all need more touches, don't we?
Yep.
But he can pay lip service to that. But, you know, when push comes to shove, and this team is like in a playoff race, right? Actually, I think if the season ended today, the Lions would not be in the playoffs.
Yep. They're behind.
So they got to roll with their best players. Jahmyr Gibbs is the best player on the roster.
Yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs became just the second player ever to rush for 200 yards and catch 10 passes in the same game. First one was LaDainian Tomlinson. Okay, that was the good. The bad, Evan, is that the Lions put up 494 yards of total offense in this game, and Jameson Williams had 0 yards. I honestly don't even know how that happens. I mean, he did have a couple catches called back by penalty. The usage was great, though. 44 routes for JMO actually led the team. He was in the slot 10 times. It's just Amon-Ra and Gibbs combined for 25 targets. 60% of the targets went to Amon-Ra and Gibbs. So I guess when you have Jameson Williams, it's like, it's going to be up and down. There's going to be boom. There's going to be bust. That's like easy to say. I thought that was going to be different with Laporta out and Dan Campbell calling plays. So yeah, Evan, any thoughts on JMO airballing here in a game the Lions almost had 500 yards of offense?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's he went back to clearing out for other guys. Well, number one, the Giants assigned dedicated coverage to him now. It's Cordell Flott, okay? Cordell Flott was shadowing him. But Cordell Flott did a good job on Jameson Williams, and that was like a dedicated plan by the Giants to deal with Jameson Williams. And he didn't get in-breaking routes in this game, which he had been getting a lot of in the first 2 games from Dan Campbell. And so when he's just running like fly routes, you know, he's not going to be targeted at a high rate. That's not Jared Goff's game. Jared Goff's game is throwing the ball over the middle, where we saw, again, in the previous 2 games, when you get the ball in Jameson Williams' hands, he's as lethal as any receiver in the league. They didn't do that in this game, and they still had a boatload of offensive success. So I think that Jameson Williams contributed to the Lions' offensive success. Obviously, he didn't. He contributed to only losses in fantasy football, and I think it's going to continue to be fairly up and down. But I also think that when he comes off of a game where he gets nothing, then he'll be a good bet to bounce back in the next game. But in this game, he went back to just being strictly a role player. Amon-Ra St. Brown 8, Jahmyr Gibbs 8.
Yeah. I just thought that with Campbell, it wouldn't be like that. But, I'm like, there's going to be some flop lag, some bounce back, I think. And I like Jameson home versus Packers, obviously, on Thursday. And then week after that, home versus Dallas also. Quick note. We only run one sale per year here at ETR. And this is it. Our Black Friday sale is officially live now. Heavily discounted options on our NFL in-season product, which includes our fantasy projections for every player in every game, includes Silva's matchups, our Friday night premium show with myself, Silva, and Wiggins, Saturday premium show with Dink and Leone, Leone's Saturday night show, Sunday morning shows, tons more. For details, head to establishtheRun.com/Black Friday. Again, establishtheRun.com/Black Friday. You can also find links to the sale on my Twitter or on the site or on the ETR Twitter. Also, the Solver is running a sale for anyone interested in NFL Optimizer, NFL Sims, or NBA Optimizer, or any other Solver tools. Just find the link to Solver on ETR. You go to the NFL section, you go to the Tools and Research tab. Then once you click that, code SOLVER20, all caps, SOLVER20 at checkout to get 20% off your first purchase. New customers only. Again, that is the sale at thesolver.com. All right, let's go to the NFC here, Evan, and we'll start with the Atlanta Falcons. No Michael Penix, no Drake London in this game. Falcons still go to New Orleans and win 24-10. The key to me is they were able to somewhat hide Kirk Cousins. He did throw one pick six, but that was the only touchdown the Saints scored. Defense was good. Only 28 dropbacks in this game for Kirk Cousins. Evan, what do you think of Captain Kirk and the Falcons here?
Yeah, that was the name of the game for the Falcons, was hiding Kirk Cousins. They even got, they got Bijan 14 carries. They got Tyler Algier 12 carries. And then it was nice to see, again, when you're trying to hide your quarterback, you're not going to get a whole lot of receiving production because the passing game isn't producing as a unit. But to see Darnell Mooney at least be efficient with his 3 targets, make a big play, finish with 3 for 74 and a touchdown, should give us some confidence that we can at least consider Darnell Mooney as a wide receiver 3 going forward. Although it does seem like Drake London is probably going to be back this week. So it may be short-lived. The potential usage of Darnell Mooney may be short-lived.
I was happy to see it on Darnell Mooney, catches a 49-yard touchdown, as Evan said, but only 3 targets for a 13% share, right? And so without Drake London out there, if you're not getting to 20% of the targets, at least as Darnell Mooney, I have major concerns. So yeah, when Drake London gets back, it's going to be a tough click on Moondog, I think. Kyle Pitts, led the team in targets with 5. He had a couple plays that he could have made. He struggles so bad for contested catches. If anyone is around him, he just can't catch the football.
He'll look great on one play, and then on the next, he'll look like buns.
Yeah, I just don't think he's good enough, period. And so, yeah, just is what it is on Kyle Pitts. The news on Michael Penix was not great. So they were hoping to avoid having to do another reconstruction. Turns out Michael Penix does need to have another ACL reconstruction. Timeline is 9 months. So it's going to be a battle for Michael Penix to be ready for week 1 of the 2026 season. Let's go to the Panthers. Remember in week 11, Bryce Young went nuts on the Falcons in the Dome, 448 pass yards, 3 touchdowns. We talked about that. Suspected it was situation-based, the volume at least, and outlier efficiency clearly. And then he gets this pretty good spot here against San Francisco on Monday night, and it just goes right back to what it's been all year. 18 of 29, Bryce, just 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 really bad interceptions, including one at the goal line, which I don't know why they just didn't try to run the ball in, but regardless, 2 bad interceptions. And Panthers scored just 9 points on Monday Night Football against a really bad and banged up 49ers defense. So right back to what we've seen from Bryce, Evan. Big concern. What do you think of Panthers last night?
Yeah, right back to normal with Bryce Young. I mean, and the Panthers only ran 42 plays. I mean, the 49ers had the ball like the entire freaking game. At one point, it was in time of possession, it was like 31-17 in favor of the 49ers. Panthers just don't have a very good offense, but Tet continues to produce.
Yes.
Despite that, he had a nice touchdown catch. Unfortunately, no one's going to get there in terms of yardage when the quarterback throws for 169. Just a total tease against Atlanta in Week 11.
This style that they play, where like obviously they want to be very, very run heavy. We know that. But then also when they do throw, they only want to throw short. And the broadcast showed it last night. This 49ers safety was just sitting on these Tet McMillan inbreakers. And Jalen Coker is like wide open behind the safety, but everything is so short. Bryce is at 7.2 ADOT this season. That's 7th shortest in the entire league. It's just a bad recipe. You don't throw that much. And when you do throw, you throw short. It's just really hard to have big games when that's your style. Let's go to the Bears. Bears win again by putting 31 points on the Steelers. I mean, Bears have had their problems this year. I've been really unimpressed at times with Caleb, but they're now 8-3. I don't really know how, but they're 8-3 are the Bears. Big story to me in this game was the Luther Burden usage. Plays way in front of Alamedi Zacchaeus again. And Burden was actually crushing at halftime. I was like, oh, baby, here we go. 3 catches for 46 yards on a team-high 5 targets in the first half, plus a 15-yard run. In the second half, Luther Burden just airballs. I don't really know how or why that happened. It was very, very strange. Evan, what do you think of Burden and anything else Bears related?
Yeah, the Bears are 8-3 despite a negative point differential. And the way that they've largely gotten away with that is by being so plus in the turnover margin. I mean, and even in this game, I mean, they create a lot of turnovers on defense. Usually you think that that's not sustainable. It has been sustainable so far for them, and they're overcoming mass injuries on defense. I mean, we talked about it on Sunday. They were missing their top 3 linebackers. Their number 4 linebacker got hurt, Ruben Hippolyte, during the game. They're missing their top 2 corners. I mean, they're well coached is really what it comes down to. They're winning 1-score games week in and week out. Ben Johnson schemes guys open at the best clip of almost any offensive mind in the league, and Dennis Allen has done a great job on defense. Caleb had some bad misses in this game in terms of his accuracy, but he has played well at the end of games. And it was interesting. They went with Kyle Monangai essentially as their main back over DeAndre Swift in this game. I think that could just end up being a hot hand situation. I don't think that we can get locked into any takes on the Bears backfield going forward, because I think that it's a 1-2 punch and a hot hand situation between Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift. And by the way, Colston Loveland is, God, if you could still get him, if he's still any acquirable in a dynasty league, I mean, he's going to be an absolute superstar. He reminds me so much of Travis Kelce early in his career, when Travis Kelce was sort of having to share time with Anthony Fasano, how Colston Loveland is having to do that right now with Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet and Anthony Fasano, by the way, both went to Notre Dame, tight end U. But Colston Loveland, I mean, he is a special specimen as an athlete, as a tackle breaker. Ryan Poles, this is a hit for Ryan Poles. It looked rough. The whole freaking rookie class looked rough like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they've turned a corner. Even in this game, Ozzie Trapillo, the Bears' second-round pick, he started at left tackle and almost had a clean sheet against Pittsburgh, which had really been rushing the passer well. They're getting contributions from Kyle Monangai, now Luther Burden. Like this draft class is looking really good all of a sudden for the Bears.
Yeah, and I like Loveland, but like he better be a hit. He was the 10th overall pick in the draft. It's not like you stole this kid in the 2nd or the 3rd round. Like he was 10th overall pick. He better be a star here, and certainly looks that way. Yeah, going back to the Monangai Swift stuff. So DeAndre Swift did lose a fumble in this game, and it looked to me like Swift was ahead going to be ahead of Monangai. He loses that fumble. They go to a lot of Monangai, and then Monangai gets the hot hand, ends up out carrying Swift 12-8. Snaps were 35-29 in favor of Monangai. Monangai also ran more routes, 17-15. So my thought going into this next game is like maybe a drive-by-drive rotation and see who gets the hot hand. We've seen a lot of teams do kind of the drive-by-drive stuff here lately. So that's kind of my thought on Bears backfield. And yeah, just to close the loop on Luther Burden. Last 2 weeks, Caleb's dropped back 74 times. Burden has run 45 routes, which, okay, it's not great, but he's only playing in 3 wide receiver sets, and they're playing a lot of 2 tight end with Kmet and Loveland. But the important thing to me is the gap between him and Zacchaeus. 45 routes for Burden last 2 weeks. Zacchaeus just 16. So I would consider that iced at this point. Packers had the pleasure of facing the inept J.J. McCarthy, and they dominate 23-6. Jordan Love only forced to drop back 24 times here. That's becoming an issue when teams play Minnesota. Like, why open it up when McCarthy will just give the game to you? But anyways, no Josh Jacobs. They ride Emmanuel Wilson very hard in this game to an easy win. Evan, what do you think of Packers' latest win ahead of their Thanksgiving game against the Lions?
Yeah, they rode Emmanuel Wilson very hard. 30 touches in this game. I'll be interested to see because it looks like Josh Jacobs is going to be back on Thanksgiving. But Emmanuel Wilson, so the Packers have won 3 of their last 5, and in all 3 of their victories, Emmanuel Wilson has played a very big role in each of those games for various reasons. Obviously, in this last one, just because Josh Jacobs was out. But I kind of wonder, in Josh Jacobs' first game back, will they use Emmanuel Wilson a decent amount? Because when Josh Jacobs has been healthy this year, he's been the clear-cut workhorse. And then with no Josh Jacobs in this past game, Emmanuel Wilson was the clear-cut workhorse, and that was the case after Josh Jacobs left in the previous game. So will that change at all on Thanksgiving? I will be very interested to see.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, when Jacobs has been on the injury report, in other words, like limited, but he plays, they've used Wilson a lot. When it has been, Jacobs is fine, practice in full, not on the injury report, that's when they've gone full workhorse on him, though. So we're going to be watching the injury report pretty closely here on Josh Jacobs.
And then in the receiver core, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are the clear 1-2. Dontavian Wicks is like the rotational slot receiver. And then Matthew Golden, he's been in and out. I think he'll be in on Thanksgiving, but can't count on him to play a whole lot. I really like Christian Watson on Thanksgiving, but we'll talk about that more on Wednesday.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this on the free show on Wednesday that we're doing, but you could see Matthew Golden back, and you could see Jaden Reed back here also. That's a bit shakier, but we should have more information by the time we do the show on Wednesday. Small note here, Luke Musgrave once again ran fewer routes than John Fitzpatrick. So clearly they're giving you what they think of Luke Musgrave here. They don't think very highly of him if he's running fewer routes than Fitzpatrick. And then, last point I wanted to make on Emmanuel Wilson, just a reminder of how important handcuffing is in season-long fantasy this time of year. Like, you absolutely have to do it. You cannot leave yourself in a spot where you have Josh Jacobs and you don't have Emmanuel Wilson. You can just get geeks off the street. And that brings back to the point I always make, like, spending a top 10 pick at running back is just insane behavior, especially when your team is not ready to win, like the Raiders weren't, or the Falcons weren't, or the Giants weren't when they took Saquon, et cetera. So, shout out to Emmanuel Wilson, just proving the theory yet again. Let's go to the Rams. This was the Sunday night game. Rams just absolutely destroy the Bucs. It was 31-7 at halftime. Bucs defense had no answer for Matthew Stafford and the passing game. And really, Bucs have been a pass funnel for like 3 straight years now. Everybody's game plan is to throw on them a lot, and throw on them successfully. Rams are now 9-2. Could easily make the case they're the best team in the NFL. And Stafford is now the heavy favorite to be the NFL's MVP. Evan, what do you think of Rams blowout of the Bucs on Sunday night?
Yeah, big win. And I mean, I think it reinforced, that the Rams are the best team in the NFC, especially in a week where the Eagles lost. Matthew Stafford has 7 more touchdown passes than any other player in the NFL. Uh, the Rams had been using 13 personnel, 3 tight end sets in their previous like 3 or 4 games. And then in the previous game, I think, Seattle, right? They were highly ineffective out of the 13 personnel looks, averaging 2.7 yards per play. And then in this game, the 13 personnel kind of went away. Now,
Yeah.
that also may have been contributed to by the absence of Tyler Higbee. But they do have 3 other tight ends that they can use. But they didn't use it here, and that was really good for Puka Nacua, who had 7 for 97 on 11 targets, a team high 11 targets. But yeah, I mean, Rams are rolling, man. There and no signs of them stopping.
Yeah. The Puka stuff, Devontae Adams has obviously hurt Puka in the touchdown department. These Devontae Adams releases around the goal line are so insane. He's just like always open. But yeah, Puka Nacua only has 4 touchdowns on 80 catches this year. That's a really low touchdown rate here for Puka, but that's because all these plays around the goal line are going to Devontae Adams. And yeah, just to follow up on what Evan said about the tight end stuff. So no Tyler Higbee here. Routes were Colby Parkinson 19, Davis Allen 15, Terrence Ferguson 8. That was on 36 Stafford dropbacks. So you can't really like play any of these guys, or at least it's hard to play any of these guys in standard formats. But I did play Davis Allen in Showdown on Sunday night. And I think a lot of people didn't really realize the Higbee absence and how much that helps Parkinson and Davis Allen. Oh, by the way, Tutu Atwell expected back from IR here for this Panthers game coming up on Sunday. Go to the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, God. I mean, this has to be one of the worst quarterback performances in NFL history. JJ McCarthy in Lambeau throws for 87 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, takes 5 sacks. Like, there's all these jokes going around. His passer rating of 34.2, if he just like spiked the ball on half of his dropbacks or something, it would have been better. He is now McCarthy is 851st out of 852 quarterbacks since the year 2000 in EPA per dropback. Only quarterback that's worse, Jamarcus Russell. Shout out Danny Heifetz for that one. So, and then it comes out Monday that JJ's in the concussion protocol. Now, I did see him take a big hit late in the game, but a lot of people are going to say this is another soft benching of a season of soft benching at the quarterback position. So we've talked about this for a few weeks here, Evan. I think you said last week your panic level was at 10 on JJ McCarthy. It's got to be like 15 now. I mean, it feels like this is a Jamarcus Russell situation. Any fresh thoughts on McCarthy's performance and outlook here?
Even Jamarcus Russell got like 2 or 3 years, and I don't think JJ McCarthy's even going to get that because the Vikings are suddenly going to be looking at a pretty high pick in the draft. Number one. Number two, it's Max Brosmer time in Minnesota. Known as like a really smart kid, a whip on the whiteboard, but limited physically. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, there have been a lot of guys like that have come through the NFL and, not had any level of success. But he's going to get his opportunity here because J.J. McCarthy, concussion protocol, and I don't even know if that's real or not, but I don't really care. I know that we're moving on to Max Brosmer, and we need to give someone else a shot.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you can't even get the ball to Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison was a first-round pick, and T.J. Hawkinson won the freaking Mackey Award, like the offense is just dead on arrival with J.J. McCarthy under center.
Well, this is what I was going to say. It's not like the Cam Ward situation. J.J. McCarthy has awesome weapons, an awesome scheme, plays in a dome, and he still looks like Jamarcus Russell out there, And so that's like Cam Ward, I think, has actually a bright future.
He doesn't look very much like Jamarcus Russell.
Like Cam Ward, you can make a case has a pretty bright future based on what he's done with the situation around him, which is just dreadful. J.J. McCarthy, there's not much that you can hang your hat on here with him right now.
The offensive line was fully intact.
Yeah.
I mean, J.J. McCarthy had like the perfect setup, the way that you would want it drawn up under Kevin O'Connell, and he still failed. I mean, that's really, really bad. I think it's already over, and you're not supposed to say that after 6 starts, but my goodness, there have been like 0 positive data points, even going back to training camp when Justin Jefferson was like, I don't know about this guy.
And there was a ton of coaches and a ton of articles, and shout out to reporters in the Vikings. I kind of brushed it off. But there was a lot of reports out of Minnesota that were like, this team does not feel great about JJ McCarthy going in to week 1. And then, like they played Carson Wentz with a broken shoulder over McCarthy. They wanted Wentz to keep playing if he could have stayed healthy. And it's just all time bad run out. By the way, Max Brosmer, welcome to your first NFL start. You get to play at Seattle on Sunday. So we're going to have pretty rough projections here on Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, which is sad to say. Saints muster just 3 offensive points in a home game against the Falcons. Along the way, they lose Alvin Kamara to an MCL strain in his knee. We'll see if he's able to make it back this season. But I guess the good news for fantasy is we're going to get a look at Devin Neal here. He did catch 5 balls in this game. Devin Neal, 5'11", 213, round 6 pick out of Kansas. I was reading Dane Brugler's write-up on Devin Neal coming out, and Brugler gave him a Kyron Williams comp. Devin Neal only ran a 4.58. Renner had Devin Neal RB11 in this class with a Zach Moss comp. So I think we're going to get like a pretty long look at Devin Neal here, Evan. Any thoughts on him or anything else on the Saints?
Yeah, I do too, because after Alvin Kamara went out, it was all Devin Neal. So I think that they might just, press the button with Devin Neal, let him play to the finish. Alvin Kamara had an ankle injury previously and suffered an MCL sprain. I think he might hit IR. We'll see about that. But the injury didn't look very good. And I apologize. He was my pull-up play of the week. That's embarrassing. I did get my pull-up stack right, though. Jameis to Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yep.
So I'm going to cling to victories. You guys can hang on to the losses.
Yeah, that was actually what you needed to win in DFS this week. You needed the double Lions, Amon-Ra and Gibbs with Jameis to Wan'Dale. And that honestly wasn't
I had all that.
Yeah.
But I also had Alvin Kamara.
Right.
So
yeah, you needed the chalk with it. You needed Emmanuel Wilson and Chase Brown with it. But yeah, that was, if you played Jameis stuff with the bringbacks, that was a print fest. And by the way, not only is Alvin Kamara, but for anyone who forgot, Kendry Miller tore his ACL. He's out for the year also. So, they're real thin at running back here. I'm excited to get a look at least at Devin Neal, because look at the schedule. Dolphins, Bucks, Panthers, Jets, Titans. Like, Devin Neal's going to have a chance here. He's going to have a chance.
He was a big-time workhorse at Kansas. He's Kansas's all-time leading rusher, and he could catch the ball.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a lot of chances.
Let's go to the Giants. Giants blow yet another lead, this time at Detroit, as Jameis Winston leads them to 27 points, but they lose in overtime 34-27. Monday morning, interim coach Mike Kafka announces that he has fired defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. 5 different times this season, the Giants have blown a lead of 10 plus. So Bowen's a scapegoat here. Evan, what do you think about that and any other Giants thoughts?
I definitely don't think that Shane Bowen had done very good or done very well, but I don't know that there's any fixing what the Giants have problematically on defense the rest of the way. They've had a bunch of injuries in their secondary. They don't rush the passer as well as they should, with the exception of Brian Burns. They don't stop the run at all. So I don't know. They need more talent on defense.
Yeah. At the wide receiver position, I thought that Darius Slayton would be like a tough click just because he's been so banged up, multiple hamstring pulls. He caught a ball very early, didn't look great to me. He ends up only running 25 routes on 39 dropbacks. And then you get Wan'Dale Robinson just absolutely cooking. And we talked about this on Sunday, really the last couple of weeks. In my head, I think I underrate Wan'Dale's ceiling because of his yards per target, his ADOT historically. When you play with Jameis and you can get 10 targets in a game, you have a ceiling, period, like a big ceiling. And he showed that here in this game, did Wan'Dale. He's had a really nice season, man. I've probably not given him enough credit. He's had a really nice season, has Wan'Dale. Oh, I also thought Theo Johnson played a good game, man. 3 catches, 77 yards, only 13% of the targets, but Theo Johnson can play. He's an athletic pass catcher, is Theo. And so he's going to be on my radar when Jameis starts here. But it looks like we're going to go back to Dart. Hopefully we go back to Dart here.
And Dart and Theo Johnson did have something brewing in weeks 4 through 10, which is when Dart was starting. So, I think that Theo Johnson could end up as a top 10 fantasy tight end by the end of the season. He was tight end 6 from weeks 4 to 10 with Dart at quarterback.
Let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. So Eagles came out real hot in Dallas. They scored a touchdown on each of their first 3 drives. Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown were absolutely cooking. They did not score another point after those first 3 drives and lose 24-21 to the Cowboys. And like everything to me goes back to lack of room for Saquon Barkley. There is nowhere to run. He gets hit in the backfield or at the line seemingly almost every time. Now, PFF has him graded very poorly, so maybe there's some of this that is on Saquon. I put a lot of it on Patullo. Even the locker room doesn't seem enthralled with the scheme. Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson have made comments. Sirianni came out Monday and said he has not contemplated making any changes at offensive coordinator. I kind of wish they would as someone who's holding a bunch of Saquon right now. So yeah, Evan, this was a bad loss for the Eagles, blowing a 21-0 lead. Thoughts on Eagles game against the Cowboys?
It was a scary loss the way that the Eagles lost because they got that big lead. And then the way that the team is built, they poured so many resources into their offensive line and into Saquon that they couldn't run to win. So it's like, God, that's what we're supposed to be doing, and we can't run to win against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Because our offensive line is in such bad shape, because I don't think that Saquon has that extra gear that he had last year. I mean, he had 17 touches in this game. He had a long gain of 8 yards and a long carry of 7 yards. That's like Michael Carter stuff. I mean, that's not Saquon Barkley. And the fact that the Cowboys had, or that the Eagles had a 21-0 lead and could not run to win, that is terrifying for a team that is built to be that.
They have a game on Friday this week. There is a Black Friday game. It is Eagles-Bears. I think this is a really good spot for Saquon to get going. There's also part of me that might be like, well, it's a short week. Maybe we should get a little more bigger look at Tank Bigsby or something like that. So it's going to be a toughish projection here.
I've seen Saquon. That. I've seen people suggest, like maybe Eagles Twitter suggesting like we need to try Tank Bigsby. I mean, Tank Bigsby has had some nice runs this year. It just hasn't been used very much.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's the likeliest outcome, but it's at least in my head. But they do have a pretty good schedule here, especially in the fantasy playoffs. As I mentioned, Bears. But then in the fantasy playoffs, 15, 16, 17, Raiders, Commanders, Bills. So I'm still optimistic on Saquon, but man, I've been saying that for 12 weeks now, and so it's not great. 49ers. Niners beat the Panthers last night despite 3 pretty bad interceptions from Brock Purdy. The offense also generated just 4.9 yards per play against the Panthers. That was disappointing, but yeah, they got the win behind another 30-plus touches for Christian McCaffrey. Evan, what do you think of Niners game last night?
Yeah, I mean, Purdy, wow, that was horrible. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't just the 3 picks either. Like, I haven't looked on PFF to see how many what's that stat that they use? The turnover worthy plays. Mm-hmm. I have not looked. It had to be at least 5 though, and maybe 6. I mean, Brock Purdy got away with some throws that should have been picked off, and if you saw, there was like a flip in the play calling by Kyle Shanahan. Certainly at halftime, like they just put the ball in Christian McCaffrey's belly, and even some in Brian Robinson in the second half. That's what they did, and that's why you see dudes ending up with, there was very little receiving production. Juwan Jennings did catch a touchdown to save his day. Kittle had 1 big play. He wound up with 10 targets. Pearsall had nothing. Yeah, 2 for 6. But 193 yards in the passing game. Like they just took the air out of the ball in the second half and had success doing that. But I don't know. I wonder if they're a little bit worried about Brock Purdy. I don't think they're going to bench him or anything for Mac Jones, because I think that ultimately Brock Purdy has that element, that second reaction element that Mac Jones does not bring to the table, that they're going to need when they encounter other teams that can score points against them.
Yeah, which is most teams.
What?
Which is most teams. Most teams are going to score a lot of points.
Most teams, but not the Panthers.
But not the Panthers,
obviously.
Right.
But Yeah, that's where we are with the
I mean,
49ers. Like in this particular game, they just took the air out of the ball.
they can't bench Brock Purdy. They just gave him like 60 million or something ridiculous. And I do think Brock Purdy will be fine. There's a pretty decent sample on Brock Purdy being better than Mac Jones. I'll say on Kittle, when the run game gets going, and it was going early, they did this thing where they get Purdy under center and then they go hard play action rollout stuff to Kittle. And that was like most of his catches. And that was unstoppable. 10 targets, as Evan said, 31% share for Kittle. So how that, that works really well, CMC and Kittle together. On the Ricky Pearsall stuff, he did run 31 routes on 35 dropbacks. It just, a lot of his routes are deep downfield. He's not getting any layup targets. And as we've seen with Xavier Worthy and Jameson Williams, like when you have that role, it's going to be very, very boom bust.
Also, at the end of this game, there was a big fight.
Yes.
Trevon Moehrig of the Panthers, safety, punched Juwan Jennings in the balls.
Yeah.
And Juwan Jennings went nuts after the game. I think that there'll definitely be some fines. I think Moehrig should be suspended. But I do wonder if Juwan Jennings could get suspended. I think more likely fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that'll be a situation to watch leading into week 13.
Yeah, I think that the fact that the punch and the balls got caught on video means that Jennings won't get fined. In other words, he was clearly retaliating for something that was out of bounds. And yeah, guys hit each other in the face all the time and they'll get suspended. I think Jennings will be okay. Last thing on 49ers, Evan, I don't know if you followed this Brandon Ayuk saga, but it's like voided. I didn't even read it because it doesn't really affect fantasy.
We talked about this on Sunday morning. It came out on Sunday morning.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to bring the people up to speed on this, but like the Ayuk situation went from bad to like absolutely done. Yeah.
I honestly, I haven't even read that much about it because I just saw and I was like, I accepted it because I know the history between Kyle Shanahan and Brandon Ayuk, and it's just Brandon Ayuk just seems like there's a screw loose there.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the 49ers ever wanted to give him that big deal, and they kind of just fell into it. It was the weirdest situation.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised that it's done. And I think it should be done.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks got out to a big lead against the Titans and then hold on to win 30-24. Yet another just ridiculous Jackson Smith and Jigba day. 167-2 on 38% of the targets. Seahawks are 8-3, and they get to host the Vikings and Brosmer next. So, Evan, what do you think of Seahawks' latest win this time at Tennessee?
Yeah, it's wild how it's just a one-man band with JSN. And I know that Kenneth Walker did have a nice game in this game. Actually, Zach Charbonnet also had a nice game in this game, but Kenneth Walker pulled ahead, and we'll talk about that. But JSN is like the most dominant offensive player in the NFL. I mean, did he gain ground in OPOI this past week on Jonathan Taylor?
Yes.
Yeah, he should.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, he should. He also is leading the NFL in receiving yards by like almost 300 yards, and he's still averaging like 4.3 yards per route run. That was not like a small sample, 4 or 5 games averaging over 4 yards per route run. Like he's still doing that entering week 13. I mean, this is one of the greatest wide receiver seasons of all time, and that is not even a little bit hyperbolic.
Yep. Evan mentioned the running back stuff. So big story coming in was how would the split look between Walker and Charbonnet. Walker has been trending up. He continued to trend up here. In this game, Walker 30 snaps, Charbonnet 15. Walker 14 routes, Charbonnet 8. Walker 14 touches, Charbonnet 6. And so you're starting to see them lean into what is obvious to everyone else. The place they're not going to lean into it, though, Evan, I think is around the goal line. And that's going to cap Kenneth Walker's upside to some degree. But if you wanted to tell me, hey, we should project it 65-35 Walker here going forward with the goal line stuff still to Charbonnet, I think that's probably about right. Maybe it gets a little bit more, 67-33. I don't think we're going to see like 80-20 ever. But yeah, any latest thoughts on Walker versus Charbonnet, Evan?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. Torrey Horton did get placed on IR with a shin injury, so I don't think he's going to be back before week 17.
Yeah, and the Shaheed stuff is playing out like as my fears went. When you leave New Orleans to go to Seattle, your volume just goes down. JSN gets everything, and they drop back, and they run fewer plays, and they drop back so many fewer times. And Charbonnet is playing. Shaheed is playing plenty, but the volume just has not been there for him to capitalize. Bucks. This was a brutal night for the Bucks on Sunday night. Get smoked by the Rams and lose Baker Mayfield to a sprain in his left non-throwing shoulder. They are not ruling Baker out for Week 13 yet. That is a home game against the Cardinals. But if he can't go, we'll see Teddy Bridgewater again. Bridgewater played the entire second half of this game. Evan, what do you think of Teddy and any other Bucks thoughts?
The Bucks were just winning on a lot of smoke and mirrors, comebacks, winning like really close games earlier in the season, and the luck kind of ran out. And their number one receiver has been playing hurt, I think, for like 4 or 5 weeks in Emeka Egbuka ever since suffering that hamstring injury, and now their quarterback is maybe on the fritz as well. So they got smoked in this game. I don't think there's a whole lot of analysis.
Yeah, the big situation looking forward is at running back. So at long last, Bucky Irving is expected back in Week 13. He returns to a backfield that has seen Sean Tucker move ahead of Rachaad White to some degree in base stuff lately. Now, Bucky's been out a long time, man. We're talking about Week 4. Physically, and I don't want to say this stuff definitively. I'm just speculating. Physically, it seems like Bucky has been fine for a couple weeks here. There were reports of some mental issues going on with Bucky's injury and around that. So physically, I think Bucky is fine. They still could ease him in, but Rachaad White has been struggling. I'm not sure how much they want to give Sean Tucker. And so I think Bucky could come back to a pretty decent role here and ramp it up pretty quickly down the stretch. And the Bucks do have a pretty good schedule here down the stretch. So yeah, interested to see on Bucky. Chris Godwin, man. He ran 18 routes in this game, caught 2 balls for 9 yards. They say his role will increase. Since we've seen Chris Godwin back this season, he has not put like anything good on tape. I mean, it looks like he's in big, big trouble off of the dislocated ankle and all these injuries. So yeah, tough click on Godwin for sure. And as Evan mentioned, it's not like Egbuka has been good either. Egbuka has lost his lead on Offensive Rookie of the Year. Tedero McMillan is now the favorite to be Offensive Rookie of the Year at plus 130. Egbuka is down to plus 230. Jackson Dart, Tyler Warren, Travion Henderson lurking back behind. But yeah, I have a bunch of Ted McMillan at some decent numbers for Rookie of the Year, and I hope that one comes in. I'm still a little surprised that Egbuka has fallen off this sharply, though. I know Evan said the thing about the hamstring, maybe.
Also, I think that there was some speculation that Mike Evans might be able to return in Week 15 from his broken collarbone, and the Bucks are still very much in the playoff hunt. I mean, they're 6-5, so keep hanging on, keep stashing Mike Evans where you got him.
Last NFC team is the Washington football team. They had a bye. They will play at Denver on Sunday, just a brutal spot. And to make matters worse, Jaden Daniels, according to Ian Rappaport, is a long shot to play here in Week 13. Was good to see Terry McLaurin get back in practice on a limited basis, at least as they came out of their bye. But yeah, Evan, any thoughts on Commanders? This is trending to be really bad given the state of their defense and Jaden Daniels not being ready.
No, I don't really have anything other than I think that Chris Rodriguez is going to be the lead back coming out of the bye.
So do I. But they're playing at Denver. It's like,
right. Who cares?
Brutal with Marcus Mariota at quarterback. Like, yeah, their defense. The one thing I'll say though, from like a DFS perspective, this defense is bad. Like, we are going to have big projections on guys playing Commanders rest of the year. There's no better way to get closer to the action than with the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. Right now, our partners at DK are giving new customers a shot to play free for their share of millions in prizes with their first deposit on DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Simply download the DK app and enter promo code ETR during signup to play free for your share of millions with your first deposit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit required. Use one single-use $3 ticket awarded that expires in 14 days. Ends December 31st. See terms at DraftKings.com/promo. promotions. Let's move it over to the AFC now. We'll start with the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens take care of business 23-10 over the Jets. But I thought it was another concerning offensive performance. I mean, they had 3 points, the Ravens did, 3 at halftime at home against a dead Jets team. And like maybe part of this is Lamar's rushing, 7 carries, 11 yards, 0 touchdowns rushing. I thought that he's looked pretty healthy, but other people seem to think that he's missing some gear when he's running. Remember, he had that pretty severe hamstring pull, which he's been back from for a few games now. So they get the win, Evan, but nothing to be too excited about. What do you think is going on with the Ravens right now?
He also hasn't been throwing the ball with very much success. I mean, over his last 5 starts, Lamar Jackson is averaging like 175 yards per game. He hasn't been good in fantasy in like a long time. That is partly due, or in large part due to the rushing. But I mean, also he's not lighting it up as a passer. They don't, Mark Andrews is in decline. Zay Flowers is not really a number 1 receiver. Rashad Bateman has been out. Rashad Bateman, remember, he had a really nice year last year. He has done nothing all year. The offensive line, has largely stayed healthy, but it's not the dominant offensive line that it used to be. Now they're playing the Bengals, though, on Thanksgiving night in a game where the Bengals are going to Baltimore in a night game. And I don't know. I think that that the Ravens could break the seal here and get something going. I mean, certainly Derrick Henry is in line for a monster game. And I think that, this could be a right to ship game for Lamar Jackson and everybody in the offense.
Yeah, agreed. And if they don't right the ship here, though, I mean, listen, I thought they would right the ship home against the Jets, and they didn't, So here against the Bengals, they better right the ship. There is some stuff, Derrick Henry only 3.0 yards per carry here. There's some data out there about his missed tackle rate, which doesn't look great. And anytime you start seeing that with older running backs, you start to get at least a little bit concerned. But man, he's still so fast. He's still so powerful. I'm not panicking on Derrick Henry here.
He's still registering very high on the radar gun.
Yeah.
For his long runs.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Now he's facing like the worst tackling team in recent NFL history.
Yeah.
So, his broken tackle rate all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
Bounce back.
We'll talk more about Henry, Bateman's status, Andrews, and Likely in their matchup on the show on Wednesday. Bills lose again, this time at Houston on Thursday night. Bills are now just 3-4 after starting the season 4-0, and that includes losses to Falcons, Dolphins, and now Texans. I thought the story of this game on Thursday night was Texans' defensive line just overwhelming what was supposed to be a very good Bills offensive line. Josh Allen takes 8 sacks, throws 2 picks, accounts for 0 touchdowns. There is certainly some panic around the Bills right now. Evan, what do you think of their game on Thursday night?
And they keep losing guys too. I mean, they are losing the battle of attrition at this point. Spencer Brown, their starting right tackle, who got his ass handed to him by Will Anderson on Thursday night, he left with an injury, and he may go on IR if he hasn't already. I don't think that he has, but Sean McDermott left open that possibility. Dalton Kincaid, obviously, he's been out multiple weeks with the hamstring. They're a banged up team on defense. They've been super banged up. Obviously, losing Ed Oliver, their cornerbacks have been in and out of the lineup. I don't think Matt Milano is the same player that he used to be at linebacker. Joey Bosa has been good, but they don't get consistent pass rush from the other dudes. They're a very flawed team. They're always going to be a dangerous team. They've got Josh Allen and they've got James Cook. And I think that they're well coached defensively for what they have, but they're very, very flawed.
I mean, Keon Coleman inactive again here for this game. Routes at wide receiver on 46 Josh Allen dropbacks. Khalil Shakir led the way with 37. And then listen to this behind Shakir. Gabe Davis, 28. Josh Palmer, 25. Elijah Moore, 24. Terrell Shaver, 16. With no Kincaid, they have Dawson Knox out there for 40 routes. Jackson Hawes outperforms him on just 6 routes. I mean, they have a weaponry problem here, which is what we've been talking about for a while. Like Gabe Davis, Josh Palmer, Elijah Moore, Terrell Shavers. It's hard to win like that. So, yeah, I understand the panic. They do get to play Pittsburgh and Cincinnati in their next 2 games. So 2 pretty decent spots for Josh Allen to go Superman coming up. Bengals. Bengals lose to the Patriots. They have now dropped 8 of their last 9 games, but never fear, Evan. Joe Burrow will be back Thursday for a 3-8 Bengals team. More on that in a second, but in this game here against the Patriots, they were playing without Jamar Chase. T. Higgins leaves with a concussion. It got real messy for their offense. Evan, what do you think of Bengals and then the glorious return of Joe Burrow?
Well, I think the big thing to talk about too is, I don't know about glorious return, but the return of Samaje Perine, which I know that you've harped on big time. And I have stats showing the last 3 games without Samaje Perine for Chase Brown and the 3 games prior to that with Samaje Perine, Chase Brown. It's night and day. It is absolutely night and day. That's in the Thanksgiving matchups.
Let me ask you this, though.
Huge deal.
Do you think that Chase Brown, who has played very, very, very well since Joe Flacco's got under center, do you think the way Chase Brown has played will lead to less Perine than we saw in those games earlier this season?
No, because I think that it was never a reason of, we don't think Chase Brown is that good for why we're playing Samaje Perine. We're playing Samaje Perine in these certain instances because we think that he's one of the best 2-minute and passing down backs in the league, and really good in pass protection. And it's a way for us to give Chase Brown a breather, because at the end of the day, I don't think the Bengals want Chase Brown to be playing 89% of the snaps, period. And one of the ways they can justify that to themselves is by playing Samaje Perine in those certain instances.
Yeah, it's not great. And obviously we're working on the projections for Thanksgiving, and Perine is going to have a massive role on the Chase Brown projection, particularly just on raw snaps and on passing situations. Other note here for me, Mike Gesicki returned from a long absence and immediately joined the wide receiver rotation, not the tight end rotation, the wide receiver rotation. Gesicki ran 26 routes on 39 dropbacks. He was in the slot 21 times. Gesicki was wide 5 times. He was an inline tight end on just 2 of his snaps. So in other words, Noah Fant and Tanner Hudson remain the tight ends for this team, with T. Higgins out on Thursday, expecting another big wide receiver role here for Gesicki. And then you'll also have Andre Yoshivas and Mitchell Tinsley in the mix to fill in for T. Higgins here as well. But yeah, you can read more about that in Silva's matchup, and we'll talk more about this Cincinnati situation on Wednesday's show. Broncos were on a bye. They will come out of it for an incredible spot. Face the Commanders on Sunday night. Last time we saw the Broncos, they knocked off the Chiefs, took control of the AFC West. We also saw really strong RJ Harvey usage, even though he struggled for production. So I'm a little tilted RJ Harvey is not on the main slate here because I really wanted to play him this week. Yeah, Evan, any thoughts on Broncos as they come out of their bye?
Same as you, just really excited for this spot for the entirety of the Troy Franklin, Cortland Sutton, RJ Harvey. I think he has a breakout game against Washington. Bo Nix will be Bo Nix could play bad in the game and still be good in fantasy. We've seen that many times before.
Yeah. Only other thing for me on Broncos is I'm watching the Troy Franklin versus Cortland Sutton battle to be the team's number 1 target. I think it's relatively close right now. Where it's not close is at wide receiver 3, expecting Pat Bryant to continue to be well ahead of Marvin Mims. Texans. Great win for the Texans on Thursday night. They did it with an incredible defensive performance. I mean, really, really strong on defense. From fantasy perspective, this is 3 straight games where we've seen Woody Marks be the clear feature back. He got 17 opportunities here compared to just 7 for Nick Chubb. Marks continues to be an afterthought in the passing game. Maybe that changes if/when CJ Stroud gets back, but kind of tough to say. Evan, what do you think of Texans win last Thursday over the Bills?
Yeah, gosh, that makes no sense to me. In 3 opportunities to be the Texans feature back, Woody Marks has a combined 5 targets. Yeah. And as we've discussed before on the show, Woody Marks' calling card coming out of college was his receiving capability. He had like 255 receptions in his 5-year college career or something insane like that. CJ Stroud will be back from his concussion. That's about all I got.
Yeah. Davis Mills dropped back 30 times in this game. Christian Kirk only ran 13 routes. And you'd be like, oh man, that's great for Jalen Noel. Jalen Noel only ran 11. So they're effectively splitting the wide receiver 3 role. Christian Kirk and Jalen Noel. Nico Collins and Jaden Higgins are the primary in 2 wide receiver sets. So really tough click now on either one of those guys, Christian Kirk or Jalen Noel. Let's go to Colts. Man, Colts went to Arrowhead and played well enough to win. I mean, they were up 20-9 in the fourth quarter. They blow that lead and then lose in overtime to the Chiefs 23-20. Pretty disappointing outcome, I think, for the Colts, all things considered. From a fantasy perspective, we had talked about Jonathan Taylor running into some much tougher matchups down the stretch. This was one of them. He also has to play the Texans next and at Seattle in week 15. Obviously, JT is still one of the best players in all of fantasy, one of the players I'd most like to have. But I was just noting, in these tougher matchups, it's not as easy. He still did play 46 of 51 snaps. Did JT? Evan, any thoughts on Colts' loss to the Chiefs in overtime?
Oh, yeah, the Colts had the Chiefs right where they want them. They let them off the hook.
Yep.
Daniel Jones continues to not play at a particularly high level. The Chiefs' defense also has been very mediocre all year. I mean, they shut down Jonathan Taylor, period, point blank. And so, I mean, hats off to them. But, yeah, I mean, I wonder if the shine is wearing off the Colts offense a little bit. I mean, I think we can all agree that they certainly vastly exceeded expectations in the first half of the season. We know that they do really smart things. They have a really smart coach in Shane Steichen. They throw the ball on early downs. They run play action. But they're not the most talented offense in the league, and I think that can sometimes catch up to you. Like, and Daniel Jones it's been like a fairly extended stretch now where he has not been any kind of a difference maker.
Yeah, this is a really tough place to play. I don't want to bang too hard on the Colts offense here. You go to Arrowhead, and your offense isn't great. I kind of expected that. One thing they can do, I don't even know they want to do this. I don't think they will. But Josh Downs only 14 routes here. Pierce 32, Pittman 30. Still think Downs is a player, and I'd love to see him get more work. But Pierce has had a great year, and it's tough when you're playing a lot of 2 tight end stuff to get Downs as many routes as maybe I want. Jaguars squeeze out an overtime win over the Cardinals 27-24 despite 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a lost fumble from Trevor Lawrence, who, just does not look like it to me. But the big story in this game was the running back situation. We spent a ton of time last week talking about the week 11 usage bump for Bashal Tutin. It was not sticky in week 12. And I know before the YouTube commenters start going crazy that week 11 was all because of the scoreboard, it was only 14-6 Jaguars lead in week 11 at halftime, and the snaps and touches were roughly even. In this game, week 12, ETN 40 snaps, Tutin 13. ETN 16 routes, Tutin 6. Opportunities, ETN 19, Tutin 8. And so pretty disappointing, although maybe not that surprising because, again, as I talked about last week, I think Travis Etienne's had a pretty good year and is a pretty good NFL player. So I was surprised that the gap was this wide. I'm not surprised Etienne was ahead. So, Evan, any thoughts on Tutin versus Etienne? Any other Jaguars thoughts?
It also could be largely a matter of a hot hand because Bashal Tutin in this game never really showed any kind of a hot hand, and Etienne had like a long run as a runner and also was making plays in the passing game. So it could just come down to that. But I thought that the biggest change here was Brenton Strange coming back off of IR. I was reading about his injury like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was worse than anybody knew. He had 2 injuries, and he's finally back, and he's 100%. I think he went right back to his full-time role.
Yeah, 24 routes on 35 dropbacks for Strange.
Okay, so he's still got a little bit of room for growth, but he went 5 for 93 on 5 targets, perfect. He's been an asset to them in the running game as well.
Yeah.
So, and I think he can be an asset down the stretch, especially with no Travis Hunter, with Brian Thomas. Who knows what's going on with him? Yeah. But I mean, Brenton Strange came back. He was the number 1 receiver, the leading receiver for the Jaguars in his first game back.
Yeah, I think Brian Thomas is going to be back this week, but I wouldn't swear to it. He's been practicing, but they keep ruling him out. That's allowed Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, who I actually think both played pretty good games here. It's hard to be explosive when Trevor Lawrence is your quarterback and you're somewhat capped on talent, I think, on Jacoby. and Parker Washington, but they both played, solid games, and we're in play there in DFS. They're in the 4K, low 5K range. Chiefs stay alive. Just a classic Mahomes late comeback, find a way to win. Chiefs moved to 6-5. The crazy part of this was they ran the offense through Kareem Hunt for much of the day. Kareem Hunt ended up with 30 carries plus 3 targets. I mean, that's a wild thing, especially ahead of this Thanksgiving slate where Isaiah Pacheco will be back. The Chiefs did confirm here today Isaiah Pacheco will be back. So, Evan, any thoughts on Chiefs overtime win and then the Hunt versus Pacheco split coming up here on Thanksgiving?
My feeling is that the Chiefs are going to stick with Kareem Hunt, that they have an irrational love for Kareem Hunt. He has like no big play ability whatsoever, but he always gets the yards that are blocked for him, and he like just executes. And they freaking love that. And now we're on a short week, and theoretically, like Isaiah Pacheco may be fresh, and Kareem Hunt's coming off 1 million touches. So maybe, but I don't know. That will be a debate that we have on the Thanksgiving show, I believe.
Yeah.
Rashee Rice is the number 2 overall fantasy receiver since he returned from suspension. Travis Kelce during that time is the number 2 overall fantasy tight end behind only Trey McBride. And Xavier Worthy has like done nothing, averaging 39 yards per game with no touchdowns during that span.
I don't want to make excuses for Xavier Worthy because the sample size is big. When Rashee Rice plays, Xavier Worthy has done nothing, but he does seem banged up, and he's been on the injury report a ton. And like the tape bros, I think that Xavier Worthy is like playing through something. On Rashee Rice, people are like, "Oh, he's a drag merchant. He's a yak merchant." Yeah, man, that's a wins in fantasy. I mean, he had a 5.6 yard ADOT here. Your catch rate on that is so high. And then Rashee Rice after the catch is so good, 111 yards after the catch in this game for Rashee Rice. So yeah, when people like bang on that role, I just don't get it. Like that's the role I want. It's a great role for Rashee Rice.
That's like a big fantasy thing to say, to call someone a merchant of some kind. Like, oh, that guy's, he's just a target merchant. Like, yeah, that's what we want, pal.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, the Chiefs did make a signing. Our old friend Dameon Pierce, who at one point got steamed up as a rookie to like the 4th round of fantasy drafts or something insane his rookie year and just fell out of favor with Houston. I don't think he's going to play anytime soon, but I just want to note that the Chiefs did sign Dameon Pierce there.
Practice
squad. And yeah, they get to play Dallas next. You can read about that in Evan's matchups, and we'll talk about it on the show on Wednesday.
The book on Dameon Pierce has always been, you don't want him in a zone running scheme. You want him just hitting the hole, as hard as he possibly can, because he is sort of like a speed score guy. But I don't know. We'll see if he gets an opportunity.
Raiders' latest embarrassment is a home loss to Shadur Sanders and the Browns, 24-10. Making matters worse, Ashton Genty hurt his ankle late in this game. They're saying it's not severe, but like the team is 2-9. We don't need to play Ashton Genty through any kind of ankle sprain here going forward. And then on Monday, they find a scapegoat. Chip Kelly is fired. Very short tenure as Raiders offensive coordinator. Old friend Greg Olsen will be the new offensive coordinator. Evan, thoughts on Raiders and the Chip Kelly firing?
Yeah, old friend, emphasis on old. I mean, has Greg Olsen, and this is obviously not the tight end announcer, has Greg Olsen coached for more than half of the teams in the league? I might take the over on that. I mean, it seems like he's coached for every single team. He's been the offensive coordinator, I believe, for the Raiders.
3 times, yeah.
3 times? Yeah. Unbelievable. 3 freaking times. Unbelievable. I mean, wow. He keeps coming back.
Yeah. Do you think he can make any changes here?
No.
I mean, they have a real personnel problem. Obviously, they have an offensive line problem.
The offensive line is just absolute garbage.
Geno took 10 sacks. I already mentioned the Myles Garrett thing, but Geno took 10 sacks. Oh, and by the way, your boy, Evan, Michael Mayer got hurt in this game as well. So it's really hard to find positive things to say. Brock Bowers is someone that can separate at the tight end position, and that's like pretty much weekly my only click or even look at with the Raiders. Schedule is brutal also. They still have to play Chargers, Broncos, Eagles, Texans. Like, so dead. Chargers. Chargers want to buy. They'll host the Raiders Sunday, as I just mentioned. Biggest story here is the status of Omarion Hampton. This date, the week 13, has seemingly been circled as the date for him to return from that week 5 ankle injury. We'll see if he is able to do it. Evan, any Chargers thoughts for you as they come out of their bye?
Just Omarion Hampton, and can we get some offensive linemen back?
Yeah.
I kind of think that we're not going to get some offensive linemen back. But, I mean, it would be really nice to have some back because Justin Herbert has been getting clobbered in the pocket, astronomical pressure rates on a week-to-week basis. They got him getting the ball out of his hands in 2.2 seconds, and he's still getting pressured on half of his dropbacks. Like, they really need some reinforcements on the offensive line.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Hampton if he is activated on Friday. I just want to say that he has been out for a very long time. And so Omarion Hampton's role here in week 13, if he does play, should be like a ramping up role, I think. And then start pointing towards, they have a couple good matchups. I know they play Dallas in the fantasy playoffs, and that's where I hope Omarion Hampton will truly be 100%.
If I've got Kamani Vidal right now in a season-long league, like I've got him penciled in as a starter in week 13 against the Raiders.
Okay. Dolphins were on a bye. They will come out of it for a nice home spot against the Saints on Sunday. Remember, the Dolphins, they won 2 straight games before their bye, and they have one of the better schedules for fantasy rest of season. Dolphins get to play Saints, Jets, Steelers, Bengals, Bucks. Both those last 2 games, Bengals and Bucks, are at home. That will be huge edge in fantasy playoffs if the weather is bad elsewhere. We know the weather will be good in Miami. Evan, any thoughts on Dolphins as they come out of their bye?
Yeah, the Dolphins have won 3 of their last 4,
Yeah.
even, and they put 34. They put up 34 points in one of them. They put up 30 in another one. They only put up 16 against Washington, which looks bad. But then when you realize that they were playing in, Madrid or Berlin or someplace in Europe, if it was up to me, just eliminate Europe. Not like the European games, not like all of Europe. Like just the games in Europe. You didn't think I really meant eliminate Europe?
No, I thought you meant to actually eliminate Europe. Yes.
Oh, okay. No. Just the games, the NFL games.
Oh man. Small piece of news for Dolphins. Darren Waller will have his practice window opened this week. We'll see if he can get back and have a roll down the stretch. But yeah, Waddle and Achane, man. I mentioned the schedule, the weather. They're set up pretty well here. Should be healthy coming out of their bye. Jets went to Tyrod Taylor for this game. They lose 23-10 in Baltimore. I don't really know what to say about the Jets, man. Like, I thought John Mechie played a good game, and after what he's been through, that's great to see, but I don't know that I can get behind any Jets. I know Breece Hall had a nice game here, over 100 scrimmage yards, but the range of outcomes, the floor on these guys is so low that it's really hard for me to get excited about any of them. Evan, any thoughts on Jets' loss to the Ravens?
Yeah, and I would also say that on a broken play, A.D. Mitchell made a real sick play down the left sideline. He just, and this has been going back to his rookie preseason, the way that he moves different than other players on the field. Like, that's the kind of athlete that he is. But, then he finishes with 2 catches on 7 targets. Yeah. So you don't know, but you see the potential.
Let's go to the Steelers. No Aaron Rodgers in this game. He is expected back for week 13, but in week 12, it was Mason Rudolph going to Chicago and losing a tight one. I thought the fantasy story was Kenny Gainwell, man. I mean, Kenny Gainwell, he's forcing more and more of a split with Jaylen Warren. I know that's kind of gone up and down all year. Kenny Gainwell came up 1 inch short of a touchdown here. Also had 6 catches in this game. So I'm a little worried that Warren's getting too much eaten into him out by Kenny Gainwell here. Evan, any thoughts on that or any other Steelers thoughts?
So am I. I mean, they design stuff for Gainwell. It's really interesting how they give him pop passes.
Yeah.
They love him. I mean, Arthur Smith loves this dude, and when Arthur Smith loves you, you can kind of make a career out of that. I mean, guys have done that before. I mean, he even started Desmond Ridder for a whole season.
Yeah. Jonnu Smith.
So, Jonnu Smith. I mean, So, yeah, that's where we are. I mean, I think I would consider it 50-50, if not leaning in the favor of Kenneth Gainwell right now.
Yeah. And it wasn't that long ago that like the snaps were kind of close, but Warren was the one. And I think Warren's had a really nice season, man. He's broken a
So do
ton
I.
of tackles and he looks explosive. But yeah, clearly they like or love Kenny Gainwell. Other issue here, Evan and I both really like DK Metcalf on Sunday. He was really cheap, 5,300. I ended up playing him a decent amount. Early on, it looked like he was going to have a big game, but then he banged up his ankle, played through it, didn't look great. I think he's going to play Sunday against the Bills, but I'm watching that ankle injury. And yeah, as I mentioned, Aaron Rodgers expected back Sunday as well.
Yeah, they threw him like a swing pass early in the game, and he scored a touchdown, and then they ruled it a rushing touchdown. And then Mason Rudolph had him for a big play down the field, and Nashawn Wright, who's 6'4", cornerback for the Bears, goes up and intercepts it. Nashawn Wright has 5 interceptions in the season, and then the ankle injury.
Yeah.
So that's why DK Metcalf was disappointed. But DK Metcalf still had a decent game in fantasy. I think he scored 11 or 12.
Last team today is the Tennessee Titans. They lose to the Seahawks, fall to 1-10 and 0-6 at home. You know, no Calvin Ridley, no Iomanor. I do think the rookie DK can play a little bit. Like, he's fun to watch, but this team is just so dead. And what I said earlier, the Cam Ward evaluation is really, really hard. Like, it's a dreadful situation. And Cam Ward still has a 76 passer rating this year. JJ McCarthy, in one of the best situations, he's 20 plus points worse in passer rating. So again, I don't want to say anything bad about Cam Ward until we see him in a much better situation. Evan, any thoughts on Titans' loss to the Seahawks?
Yeah, Shamir DK is wild because not only is he like the Titans' number one receiver, but he is also their kickoff and punt returner. His comparison for a lot of people coming out of college was Tyler Lockett. And Tyler Lockett obviously had a great career and was a fantasy asset for many, many years in Seattle. I'm optimistic that Shamir DK can maybe get something at least close to that going forward. Also, Gunnar Helm. I mean, we're talking about the future with a team like Cam Ward has had a couple of decent games down the stretch, and that's promising enough for me. Gunnar Helm is a guy that is a receiving tight end for the Titans that he's got some potential. But I mean, that's what we're going to be talking about with the Titans. I don't think that anybody is really playable. Maybe DK.
Yeah.
He might be the only guy because they're still splitting in the backfield too.
Yep, for sure. All right. That is going to do it for another edition of the Team by Team Show. 2 important things. Be sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Again, 2 free shows this week covering the Thanksgiving slate, Establish the Million and Establish the Show. Also, be sure to check out the sale if you have not already. We only run 1 sale per year, and this is indeed it. EstablishTheRun.com/Black Friday, and then also on the Solver. Find that link on ETR, and then use Solver20 for 20% off. For Evan, for Ryan, for Luke, for everybody behind the scenes at ETR. And by the way, I know everybody thinks that like it's some black box, that some computer that automates and does all the stuff that we do, from shows to projections to sims. There is a ton of manual intervention, which includes people doing this stuff Thanksgiving, Christmas time, etc. So shout out to everyone on our team. Happy Thanksgiving from all of us to all of you.